Hello there. I'm going to say a bit today about forgiveness, that is, forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. So, yes, I think forgiveness is really important if we're wanting to lead any sort of spiritual life, because any spiritual life is about becoming more aware of what is in our minds and our hearts. And when we meditate in particular, we discover things about ourselves that maybe we're ashamed of. Maybe we have memories of the past and things that we would rather not have done or rather not have experienced. And perhaps often, first of all, we're aware of what others have done to us or things that we're not happy about, circumstances we've been in our lives. And if we hang on to the wrongs that we have done or others have done, if we keep those, if we nurture them, then we're never going to really be able to meditate. We're never going to be able to, basically be happy. We're never going to be able to have happy states of mind if we're burdened in that way. It's a bit like carrying a heavy sack on our back, that resentment. So I think forgiveness is an incredibly important activity. I'll even call it an activity, an action that we can engage with. And it's not something that happens fast. I think it's something that can take a long time. So this put me in mind of a verse from the Dhammapada, which says, "It is hard to be born as a human being and hard to live the life of one. It is harder still to hear the true Dharma and even harder to become a Buddha." So it's hard to be born as a human being. It's a privilege in some ways, but it's also very hard. And it's hard because bodies are quite vulnerable. They get ill, they have accidents, they get old, and then they die. So we're born kind of aware of all that. We quickly become aware that that we're quite vulnerable, and we get very protective of our own self. But quite apart from our body, what we start nurturing and being quite afraid of losing is something much more fundamental, which, for want of a better word, we can call ego. So the ego, as we grow up, becomes embedded in a sense of I that's separate from the world, certainly separate from other people. And that means that we can be very self-absorbed. Not just I, but everything is mine or not mine. And you know that the Buddha pointed out that the central cause of our suffering is craving. And we cling most clearly to this sense of I and me and mine. So that sense of separation is something that we all want to go beyond, but it's very hard to know how to do that unless we become more and more aware, and more compassionate, and more forgiving. So awareness is not something that is a fast fix, as it were. We can't force awareness. We have to coax it gradually. So we do that certainly very directly with meditation through the mindfulness of breathing and through the metta bhavana, the practice of loving kindness. So with mindfulness of breathing, we learn how to become calm, accepting, noticing. We notice really how to let go of all the busyness, how to take time out so that we can become more aware and appreciative, therefore appreciative of bare sensations, of our senses, of the world, of other people, and so on. But the metta bhavana, or the practice of loving kindness, brings warmth to those insights, if you like. And it's the metta bhavana where we're going to probably practice most directly forgiving ourselves. So I said that, as we become aware, it can be quite an eye-opener and quite shocking and quite difficult, I think, when we start realising that maybe we haven't got the positive self-view that we thought we had. So a lot of confidence is what I call bravado. It's a lot of confidence underneath is covering up a lot of fear, anxiety, inferiority, all sorts of things. And we can come across that quite quickly when we practice loving kindness. We can realise that actually, this is a bit of a front, the confidence that we show to the world. So, learning how to love ourselves is really important. And we don't do that by kind of slapping a bit of sticky plaster over things. In the metta bhavana, we have to be authentic to our experience. That's really important. So sometimes we talk about cultivating loving kindness, but I prefer not to call it cultivating loving kindness. It's a bit like opening the door to the warmth that is available to all of us. Because cultivating does sound like we have to sort of make something happen. And I don't think we do. I think we just have to be more accepting of what we find in ourselves. So that takes us to forgiveness and to being able to understand that, yes, in the past we did things maybe from ignorance, maybe from very difficult circumstances, and we have to accept that we can't change the past. It can't be changed. The past is the past, and we have to learn how to let that go, really let it go. Not by pushing it out of our mind, but by understanding that we can only act in as far as we are aware. So as our awareness grows and as we practice the precepts, so, when we take on the Buddhist precepts, in a way, we're undertaking to train our mind to become more and more aware of what's really there, so that we can, I was going to say make changes. It's sort of something gradually just happens, you just start becoming more aware through the awareness that you build up in meditation of how you want to be in the world, of what you admire, what qualities you admire that you then aspire to. So, like the first precept is, with deeds of loving kindness I purify my body. With deeds of loving kindness. So you undertake not to cause harm. But a lot of the time we don't know the harm we cause. And through meditation, gradually things emerge. You see how everything that you think and do and say has an effect on other people and on the world. And perhaps has more of an effect than you've ever realised. And that knowledge is really helpful in the beginning, in starting to change, in starting to wanting a clear conscience, I suppose. There's nothing better for meditation than having a clear conscience. So learning how to forgive ourselves, how do we do that? How do we forgive ourselves? Well, it's by understanding that, first of all, we were not as aware as we are now. Second, we are not the centre of the universe, that everybody makes mistakes, absolutely everybody. And also to trust that everybody does their best. that might sound quite a controversial thing to say, because obviously there are dreadful things that happen in the world and around us. But actually, people do things because they believe in things or they want to be happy. And often that's in a very selfish way. But ultimately, people try their best, they do their best. And it's not good enough, and sometimes it creates havoc in the world, and sometimes it creates an immense amount of suffering. But actually our hatred, our response, a negative response to that certainly doesn't help ourselves and doesn't do anything about the problem. That's probably all for now. Bye.